Earth Systems 3209, Unit 5, Earth's Resources. Reference for this unit can be found in Chapters 21, Appendix A, and Appendix B. Unit 5, Topic 2.3. This topic will look at processing ore minerals. This topic will focus on identifying and describing techniques used in processing of ore deposits. The ore processing techniques involve flotation, gravity separation, heap leaching, pyromet, and hydromet. These 5 ore processing techniques will separate the given elements or minerals from the ore so it can be further processed. Let's look at the first ore processing technique. This technique is called flotation. Flotation involves the mixing of grounded ore with water, oil, and chemicals. The grounded ore becomes suspended in the water and is subjected to air bubbles that is put into the water from compressed air. This causes the minerals and or elements of value to float to the top, where they can be skimmed off and further processed. If we look at the diagram to the right, this diagram represents the method of flotation. We have compressed air, which is put into the mixture of water, oil, and chemicals mixed in with the ore. As the air bubbles into the water mixture, the air bubbles will rise to the surface. As they rise to the surface, the minerals that is in the ore will actually stick to the air bubbles and come to the surface with the air bubbles. This material, sulfide ore particles, can be skimmed off and later processed. So this process is called flotation. The second process where we can separate the minerals from the ore is called gravity separation. During gravity separation, this involves feeding grounded ore into a pulsating body of water, which serves to settle out the heavy materials while floating away the light materials. If the heavy material is what you wish to keep, then it is taken from the bottom. If the light material is what you wish to keep, then it is taken from the top. The diagram to the right demonstrates gravity separation. In this area here, we have a platform with wedges, and the heavier ore minerals will be settling in between the wedges, while the lighter materials will flow away with the water and it can be collected at a later time. A third ore processing technique involves heap leaching. Heap leaching commences by placing the grounded ore as a layer onto impermeable material. The heap of material is sprayed with a liquid, usually an acid, which percolates down through to dissolve away the valuable minerals and elements. This liquid, or leachate, is then collected in a reservoir. The leachate is processed to extract the desired minerals. If you look at the diagram below, we see that we have an impermeable lining. This prevents any of the material from seeping into the ground. This impermeable lining is inclined at a slope of approximately 3 degrees, so all of the liquid materials can run down slope. All of the grounded ore is piled on top of the impermeable lining in layers, which is later sprinkled with a liquid, and this liquid is usually an acid, which dissolves away the minerals and elements as we wish to collect, and this liquid leachate then runs down through and hits the impermeable lining and later collects in a collection reservoir. And this leachate is then collected and further processed to extract the desired materials. The fourth method of ore processing is called pyromet. Pyromet involves using heat to separate minerals and or elements of value from the ore. Heating separates materials by density, and the desired minerals and or elements can then be removed. So the material is cooked at various temperatures, and at different temperatures, different elements will actually come out of the ore. A fifth ore processing technique is called hydromet. Hydromet is a chemical method that involves oxidation and acid leaching to separate out the desired minerals and or elements. Let's look at some examples from past exams. Example number 1 reads, which involves heating the ore for purposes of separating materials based on density. If we look at our choices, we have flotation, heap leaching, prospecting, and pyromet. As we looked at earlier, flotation is the method by which air is bubbled through a mixture of the ore dissolved in water and oils, and basically uses air bubbles to float it to the top. Heap leaching is where layers of ore, grounded ore, is placed on top of an impermeable lining, and then acids or some liquids are used to dissolve away the given minerals, and prospecting is an exploration technique. Therefore, the answer to example number 1 is pyromet. Pyromet is used to separate materials based on density by heating the material up. So the answer to example number 1 is D. Example number 2 reads, which technique involves percolation and dissolving away of valuable minerals from ore? If we look at the choices, our choice would be A, distillation, B, gravity separation, C, heat bleaching, and D, remote sensing. The answer to example number 2, which is heat bleaching, involves percolation of liquids, namely acids, down through the grounded ore, which dissolves away the valuable minerals or elements from the ore and is later collected in a collection reservoir. So the answer to example number 2 would be heat bleaching. Your turn. Take the time and complete the following question. The answer to this question will be on the following slide. You can pause your recording now to prepare your answer. The question reads, which mineral processing technique involves oxidation and leaching, or an acid leaching? The process that involves oxidation and acid leaching would be hydromet. So your answer to this question would be D. Let's look at a review of the techniques used to process ore deposits. The 5 techniques used to process ore deposits include flotation, where air is bubbled through a mixture of water, oil, and grounded ore, and the air bubbles that is bubbled through this mixture floats to the top, taking the desired materials with it, which can eventually be skimmed off and later processed. Gravity separation is a process that's used where gravity settles the higher density materials to the bottom, and the lighter materials will then move away in the liquid in the top. Heap bleaching is a process by which a layer of grounded ore is laid upon top of an impermeable lining and later sprinkled with acids or some liquid that dissolves away the desired materials, namely minerals or elements, and is later collected in a leachant reservoir. Fourth, pyromet is the use of heat to separate minerals according to density. And the last would be hydromet, which is the oxidation of certain elements by leaching and collecting the elements for further processing. So these are your 5 techniques used to process ore deposits: flotation, gravity separation, heat bleaching, pyromet, and hydromet.